Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this live event. My name is Jessica Butler, and I'm the Deputy Programme Manager for the Perinatal Quality Network. This is the third of our webinars that we are hosting to support perinatal services across the country during COVID-19. For anyone not familiar with the network, we sit within the Royal College of Psychiatrists and set standards of care for inpatient and community perinatal services. We work with our members to identify examples of good practice and areas for improvement. We usually offer a series of events and networking opportunities. So in the absence of face-to-face contact, the aim of these webinars is to provide a space where teams can share experiences and discuss new ways of working. Before I hand you over to Sarah, who will be leading today's session, I've got a couple of housekeeping bits to go through. So this session is a live event and your microphones and cameras will be turned off for the duration of the talk. But you can use the chat Q&A function to ask any questions you have and also to vote for the ones you want answering the most. You can also use this function to let us know if there's any other topics you'd like covering in our webinars or if you're having any technical issues. The webinar will be recorded and uploaded to the CCQI webinars webpage, and we'll send you a link later on for this. So now I'm going to hand over to Sarah Owen, who is a peer support worker and is going to talk to us about how the Surrey and Borders perinatal team coped with COVID-19. Thank you, Sarah.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So as Jessica very kindly introduced me, I am a peer support worker and I work within the Perinatal Mental Health Service, which is based in Surrey. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to show you some positive things we've been able to do during this time, and also some of the current struggles that I think a lot of us are going through, especially those of us who are in community teams. Next slide. So we are a fairly new team. Our team started in October 2018. We currently have 21 members of staff. We are a multidisciplinary team, which includes psychologists, OTs, nursery nurses, psychiatrists, peer support, including myself. We also have a dedicated social worker. I think that's it. We currently have two teams and our bases are in Leatherhead and Chertsey, and we cover most of Surrey. We currently don't cover the Red Hill side, and that's covered by Sussex. At the moment, we have 314 women on our caseloads across the two teams. We offer preconception advice, antenatal and postnatal support until the baby turns 1. Next slide. So this is a little bit about myself. So my background is working within the arts. I have an art degree. I have for many years worked in the community. I have also worked with autistic young adults and older adults as well. I've currently been in my role for just over a year. So why I came to the role? So about 4 years ago, when my son was 5 weeks old, I had sepsis, and then 5 weeks after that, I had to have emergency surgery to have my gallbladder removed. Unfortunately, after this, my mental health started to deteriorate, and I actually went into an inpatient unit for 2 months, and then after accessing some extra help, I managed to get myself a place in a mother and baby unit for 6 weeks. So obviously, having gone through all of this, or maybe not, but I really wanted to use my experience to help other parents going through a similar situation, especially for the fact that I was so severely unwell. I think it's really important with peer support to show how you can recover, and you can recover really well. So within my current role, I get equipment. I also get in touch with other agencies that may be able to help us. I do admin and sort of form filling, benefits and housing I can help with. contacting outside agencies in the community. I can also identify that mum's goal and how I can support her emotionally. I do food bank referrals. I also do wrap plans, and I also do phone support and check-ins if needed. Obviously, at the moment, I'm not doing any face-to-face, and we're trying to sort of figure out how we're doing social distancing visits. But obviously, a main part of my role is to see the mum in person, so that has been a challenge. Next slide. So I feel like the team are doing really well considering the challenges we are all facing at the moment. The things that we've sort of noticed that we are doing well is that we've done really well with remote working, and we did this really quickly. Within a few days, we all set up as far as possible. We had a good business continuity plan. We implemented virtual meetings and appointments almost straight away. We've actually managed to improve attendance to our multidisciplinary team meetings by our mental health midwives because it's been virtual. One of the issues with Surrey is because it's such a large county, trying to get people for meetings sometimes can be quite difficult because they would have to travel sometimes for over an hour. And also, if you've ever had to deal with Surrey traffic, it's not a lot of fun. We also have daily referral meetings, team check-ins, and on a Wednesday for the Southwest, we have what's called a tea and chat. And this is more of a casual place where the team can meet and just talk about what's been going on in their week. We've been doing really well to work together and support each other and be flexible. We have developed a COVID-19 workbook and identified and also sharing other resources that may be helpful. We have retained flexible working. Of course, we've all had issues. I personally had issues with my son not being able to go to nursery for quite some weeks. And also we have other team members whose children go to school. So I think as a team, we've been managing this really well, and our manager and so would be really supportive with having to be flexible around that. We've continued virtual meetings, and we've also started a bi-weekly newsletter. So this goes out to all our women, and it keeps them up to our team. Next slide. So this is just an example of one of the newsletters that I created. The idea being that we have, most weeks we will have some sort of recipe, some sort of psychological input. We also, most weeks have some sort of team spotlight. So poor Yalda's up here, but sorry. So she's our assistant psychologist. So this is just a little bit about her, what she does in the team. Because we are meeting new mums, or not meeting them as such, it's good for them to know about the different people we think in our teams and what our roles were, what our roles are, and how we can help you. It also keeps them in contact with us a bit more, and we've had really good feedback from it. Next slide. So the main challenges we have found have been the lack, really, of not being able to have the observation of the parent-infant relationship. Although we may have a video call with a mum, it's we don't often have the baby in view, and that can be really challenging. Things I miss as well is informal conversations in the corridor, and the support that we can give each other. Virtual appointments being a lot less satisfying, especially when it comes to sound quality or reception, and general technological fails. And yeah, we've had some real difficulty, and I think that when you're trying to give a good service, it's particularly difficult when you're not able to talk to someone clearly or not hear them, and it can be extremely frustrating for everyone on both ends. Many more appointments now are reliant on weather, especially when we're socially distancing outside. So we're finding that a lot of things have to come together to actually see a mum face to face at the moment, which is really hard. Also, the general feeling that a lot of us have felt at points quite isolated within our team. I certainly know I wasn't really sure what my role was or what I was doing at the beginning of COVID, and I've sort of had to make a new path for myself and find out other ways to support our mums. Also, our other concerns is that we are missing the worries about mum's general mental health, and the fact that we can't really do visits very readily. I think that this is a big thing, that also we might have mums who are not getting help from our service at the moment because of COVID. Next slide. So going forward, and sort of this is also positive things that we're still hoping to do. So we're hoping to set up a maternal journal group. So this will be an online group using art as a way. It's not a therapy group, but it is a way to discuss different emotions about motherhood and the surrounding feelings around it. At the moment, we're going to trial it with 6 mums, and we're probably going to do it postnatally. The actual maternal journal group was founded by a midwife, and it's an amazing group, and it's something I'm really passionate about. Obviously, I've got my arts background. It's one of the things we can sort of see that we could do online going forward that would be really helpful. And it's also about bringing mums together and hopefully opening up that dialogue, because we know that a lot of mums are feeling very isolated at the moment. We'd like to carry on producing the newsletter. We've had a lot of good feedback, and we feel this is something that should continue even when we are doing more face-to-face visits. Resume clinic appointments. For us, that's a lot depending on room. So we have issues with size of room, and also the fact that some places just aren't opening. So the places where we were having clinics, we can't use at the moment. Opportunities to be present together. So obviously, well, again, we've got the issue that our team office is too small to have us all in at the same time. But the hope is that maybe we'll be able to socialise in smaller groups at some point. And I think especially for the nursery nurses and peer support, one of our big roles is the fact that we can be present with people physically. A lot of things that the nursery nurses do is quite hands-on, and I know they're missing that side of things. So obviously we hope they'll be able to go back to doing baby massage and things like that, because it's just not quite the same as doing it online. Groups being able to resume fully. So as I said, we are having a few groups online, but some groups work better being face-to-face. So we've been doing our maternal, or trying out our maternal journal group online, and that's had mixed results, as really you need full attendance for it, especially online. Also, meaningful inductions to new staff. So I know how hard it is when you start a new job, and the idea that people sort of starting new jobs virtually, I think is really difficult. So obviously the hope is that going forward that, you know, new staff members will actually get to meet their colleagues. Yeah, I just think I think we're doing really well, but it is challenging, and I think it'll be interesting to hear how other people have been coping during this time. Okay, thanks very much.
Yes, thank you for that. Really great how to hearing how your service has adapted in light of COVID-19 and how you faced some really difficult challenges. I don't know if anyone in the audience has got any questions. If you do, please do publish them in the chat and we can ask them to Sarah. I guess I had a question about your the workbook that you produced, and sort of it sounds like a really useful resource, and I was just wondering what sort of things it covered.
Yeah, so our work book was produced by our team, sort of mostly psychologists. I don't know if Abby's there, but if she had any views on sharing it, I can certainly get back to the team and ask if that's something that people would like to have a look at.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd be really helpful. I also wondered as well about, I think you did touch on this in your last slide, but some of the ways of working that you'd like to continue, and like some of the changes that have come about due to COVID-19 that you'd actually, that you would like to continue once like sort of normal service resumes. What would you like to see continue?
I think that although there are issues with video conferencing, I think sometimes it saves us from having DNAs, and that's been really helpful. Do cover a really wide area, so even though I'm in the southwest, I could technically be seeing a mum in Camberley, but also be seeing a mum in Epsom. So in a sense, that's been a positive because I'm not spending all day travelling, and hopefully, again, some of the issues we've had with setting up groups face to face have been that we have mums who don't drive, and also trying to rotate the groups so that they are in places that mums can access, and that's been challenging. So actually, perhaps having some groups online will make it easier for them to join in. Yeah,
I think that's been quite a common theme across different networks at the colleges, access and being able to attend things that normally you wouldn't be able to. We've had one question come through the Q&A about the newsletter that you produced,
yes.
And maybe you could just tell us a bit more about the content and how you came up with that.
Yeah, of course. So I guess when this all started, as I was saying, I was trying to sort of find my role again, and I was trying to think how I would feel with all this starting if I was still involved in the service, and I thought that actually a newsletter it's just a bit more human, and the feedback has been that it's been very informative and helpful, and I tried to target it so like the recipe is meant to be things that people have in their cupboards, and if I involve a craft, it's not meant to be too challenging. So I think it's just thinking about those things in your audience. Although we're in Surrey, we do actually have quite a large proportion of mums who don't have a lot of money, and I think that you could easily have sent out a newsletter saying do this or do that, but actually that wouldn't have been very appropriate. And I think, as I said, I think it's really good. I think with the first one I did like a spotlight on myself, but we're going to continue to explain about each person's role within the team. I think sometimes people don't know what each of your roles are, and they'll know they'll have a nurse, and they'll know perhaps they'll have a doctor, but sometimes it's helpful just to say, actually we do have nursery nurses and they do this, we do have peer support and they do this, and we have OTs, and we all have different roles and we fulfill different things, and sometimes we overlap a little bit, but sometimes it's better to come from the mum what they need rather than from us, and they're probably more likely to engage better as well.
Yeah, We've had another question about accessing the virtual groups, and we just wonder whether you could tell us about any of the barriers to participation in the virtual groups. This question from Lynette has said they've had issues with people accessing Teams and like the technology data side of it as well.
Yeah, we've had huge issues. We've been using a platform called Attend Anywhere, and it's been less than perfect, really. I've ended up having to have phone calls instead of talking to them on video. I think the issue obviously is then assuming as well that people have their own personal computers. They don't. So that can be an issue. We've also found, as I said, with the maternal wellbeing group, the other week only one mum came, and she wasn't someone who particularly found it easy to engage. In fact, the group, she found it easier to engage because there were other people in the group. So when it was just her, that didn't really work. It you know, it sort of just ended up there wasn't a lot of flow to it. I think what I'm excited about is that the maternal journal has been shown to work online and really successfully. I think things, again, the nursery nurses do a group called Seesaws. I think that I'm not sure that would necessarily work online, because again, it's about the camaraderie and seeing people you know, face to face. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of challenges to attending groups, and also making sure people come or you know, virtually come. So yeah, I hope that answers that one.
Yeah, I guess off the back of that, we've had a question about the maternal journal groups, and whether you could just tell a bit more about that and what goes on in the group.
Yes, so I'll tell you as much as I can do, but obviously I'll refer back to our psychologists. They're the ones who have created the group. So it was based off a group that was already being run in Winchester, mother and baby unit, as far as I know. And it's just about how you deal with your emotions and the things you need to cope with, I suppose, that we're all going through. So, as I said, I think that's quite difficult when it's not face-to-face, but they have created videos and some online contact, so I could certainly go back to them and ask them if I can share that with you guys.
Okay. We've also had a question about feedback from mums and staff about how they found the changes to the service that's been delivered. Yeah, so if you could talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So I think that on the whole, the mums we have talked to have been quite happy with how we've dealt with things. Of course, it's a bit substandard for what we want to be delivering currently. You know, like I said, everyone within our team is really passionate, and we're really passionate about making sure we get good outcomes. And I think the thing we find that's especially is at the moment with mums leaving the service, it feels quite dissatisfactory. Whereas normally you do a visit and things like that. So in general, so the newsletter, we've had good feedback. The sort of quickness that we have been able to get in contact with a lot of mums has been fed back as really good. So we've been able to do quicker referrals and things like that. I think for the staff, there's always new challenges, and we're always finding times where we sort of come unstuck a little bit. And I think we're missing that, as I said, being in a sort of team place where we can kind of bounce ideas off each other, which doesn't come so naturally, I guess, if it's virtually. Yeah, so I think we've had sort of mixed, but nothing that's really surprised us. I think we've been happy with the positive, feedback we have had. Like, that's been really, like, I'm so happy that, a lot of the mums still feel like they're being supported well, and that's, I suppose, the most important thing, really.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a question about your involvement in the induction process and your involvement with the recruitment of team members, and whether this is for all team members or just the peer support group only.
So I was, before our team sort of came into existence, I was part of a focus group. So my experience is the fact that there was not a perinatal team when I got unwell, and what difference that could have done to change my experience. I was very lucky. I managed to meet the right people as such, and get a good outcome. But it just shows you how important it is to have someone or a team who knows what's going on. Because I'm still surprised today with other professionals that they seem to have quite massive gaps in their knowledge. And I guess maybe it's wrong, but sometimes you assume that they should know something. So I was part of the focus group. They then asked if I wanted to apply for a position as peer support, but during that, before I applied for that position, I was actually on panels. So they actually asked mums from the focus groups to be on the panels to interview different staff members, which I think was really good. So, for instance, if there was, say, a psychiatrist or a doctor, and we would, they would really take on board the fact that we didn't think they were right for the job. Because I think even more so when you're pregnant, or once you've had a baby, you're very emotionally sensitive, and you need someone who's caring and not flippant. And I had to deal with many medical professionals who did not talk to me in the correct manner, and it really had an impact on how I felt, and I know how important that is. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. We've also had a question about where is it? About your comment about making sure that groups are inclusive and making sure like different activities are inclusive. So maybe mums that don't have as much money, and just sort of how you address this, and also for BME and non-English speaking users as well, like whether there's any sort of activities or provision made for mums where English isn't their first language, or there's maybe cultural differences.
So although we do have some mums, I think we're still learning as a team about how to include more mums from a BAME background to feel like that the perinatal team would be a good thing for them, if that makes sense. But I think that is proportionally, anyway, the referrals are mostly white. That's not to say there aren't other women, and I think we're still learning about how to engage other groups. Yeah, it's very much with we're sort of running things. So it's like with the maternal journal, we would actually buy them a sketchbook, but all the art, all the sort of activities we do should be things that people can access. So it's using things from magazine, it's writing, it's not about using expensive oil paints or anything like that. It's about stuff that hopefully you've got around the home. I know that the nursery nurses have created little activity packs, and they have given ideas about treasure boxes, is that how you call it? And it should be things that they have around the house, like wooden spoon and things like that. So yeah, we're always thinking about where to aim it and how to try and make it inclusive. I think I think you always need to be working and trying to include more people. and make communities feel more included. But like I said, proportionate at the moment, we don't engage with that many people from a BAME background. What we do try and do though is those women whose English isn't very good, is we always make sure we have an interpreter, but also like try and understand more about the family and what's going on and what would be best for them. And so I think it's like a case by case basis really, where we want to just do the best by them really. But I do think, yeah, there's definitely a lot of difficulties with, especially when you've got an interpreter and trying to find out what's going on. We sometimes say we're a bit like detectives. We're trying to piece together sort of people's stories and what's been going on, and obviously language is a really important part of that. So that can be challenging, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else in the audience has any more questions that they would like to answer. I'll give another 30 seconds or so.
That's right. Just to say, if anyone wanted further information about any of the questions they've asked and I haven't for some reason answered it fully, I'm happy to go back to my team and give you more information.
Yeah, that would be great. We've had quite a lot of, a lot of the comments have been about the newsletter and whether that could be circulated to the group as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like a really good resource. Maybe if you sent that to us, we could email it round to everyone.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's an idea, but I guess I don't know where everyone's from, but their newsletter and the content they want to include might be slightly different, or would be different anyway. But yeah, that's a nice thing, and I think that, like I said, I think it's a very it's a bit more a friendlier way of just staying in contact, basically. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, we haven't had any more questions come in, so I think I will leave it there. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Sarah. That was really, really interesting, and great to hear how you've adapted to lots of challenges over the past few months. You will be able to find this recording on the Knowledge Hub COVID-19 Mental Health Improvement Network that's been set up by the CCQI, as well as the CCQI web pages. And we will send a link in Perinatal chat, and we'll also circulate the newsletter as well for you to have a look at. If you would like to present a PQN webinar, please do get in touch. And if you've got any ideas for future webinars, please let us know. They can be COVID related or not. Yeah, please let us know. We hope you found this useful and interesting. Thank you very much for watching.